I finally made the best whole chicken in the Ninja Foodi. It was crisp on the outside and juicy and delicious and perfectly cooked on the inside. I used the newest feature on the new model of Ninja Foodi called Steam and Crisp. So I got to thinking, why can't we duplicate that on the older versions using a dual function? So that's what we're gonna do today. Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today's recipe is very simple. It is a whole chicken. And I made one last night using the newer model of Ninja Foodi and the steam and crisp function. But today we are gonna use the 8-quart Ninja Foodi with the older functions, and we're gonna use 2 different functions and hopefully achieve the same results. So let's get straight to it. First thing I'm gonna do is open up this lid, and I have a rack in here. This is the reversible rack. This is the double reversible rack. So there is another rack that sits on top, but I'm not gonna use that for this recipe. Now you can probably use the 6.5-quart Ninja Foodi. I'm just using the 8-quart because I wanted it to be pretty close to what I did last night. I'm using the same size chicken. It's about 4.5 pounds. I would say in the 6.5-quart, don't go any higher than 5 pounds. What happens is the chicken's too high in the pot and you end up burning the outside. And I know this because I've made or attempted to make probably about 25 whole chickens over the past several years, and they have never been perfect until I made the one using steam and crisp. And so I'm gonna use this Ninja Foodi. We're gonna use steam and then air crisp to achieve, hopefully, the same results. All right, so put in 1 cup of chicken stock into the inner pot there. And now I have the chicken, which is fully thawed, and it's also been sitting out here for about 35-40 minutes, and I really recommend that. I have it on some paper towels so that I can blot it dry, and I really recommend that as well. And I'm gonna use a really simple seasoning, okay? It's 1 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of poultry seasoning, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme leaves, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. That's just gonna be my seasoning for the outside. So what I like to do is flip the chicken over where it's kind of been drying here a little bit. And just move that out of the way. And I like to season the backside first, okay? So what I'm gonna do is grab my spritzer and spritz a little bit of oil, probably no more than a teaspoon. If you have a brush, you could certainly brush the oil on. That would be perfectly fine. And then we're just going to mix this seasoning blend up, and I'm gonna sprinkle it all over the backside. Then we will put the chicken on the rack, and I will do the same for the top side, the breast side. All right, let me go ahead and put this in, and then I'm gonna run and wash my hands real quick, and we'll get it set to the steam function. All right, so once your chicken is in, put the pressure lid on. Make sure the valve in the back is to the vent position. Now, with the newer model, which is 1 lid and has the steam and crisp function, which is really a neat function. I enjoyed using it last night. You obviously would just use the lid and set it to steam and crisp. But since I'm using the older model that doesn't have that function, what I'm thinking is, since it took 12 minutes for the preheat, which was the steaming time with the new function, I'm thinking I'm gonna set the steam here for 6 minutes, assuming that it's gonna take about 6 minutes for the countdown to start. Now, I'm not sure about timing here, so we're gonna learn this together, but I have 1 cup of room temperature chicken stock in the bottom. So it should start the countdown within 6 minutes. And then I'll steam for 6 minutes. Then we'll switch lids real quick and start the crisping function. All right, so let's go ahead and get this set up. We need to get to the steam, and we want to take our time down to 6 minutes and hit the start. So on the newer model, it does the same thing. It says PRE with, I think, dashes going across, and it's heating the liquid and producing steam. And it preheats the entire time, and then I guess once it feels like the pot's preheated enough, it then switches automatically over to the crisping lid function. Now, what I don't know, because I've only had it for a short time, is if on the newer models with this steam crisp function, is the bottom element engaged the entire time so that it's essentially heating that liquid up all through the crisping process, which we know does not happen with this model. So I'm not sure. So it's going to be real interesting to find out how this works. So we are counting down. We have a timer going. So we're going to find out how long it takes for the countdown to start for the steam. We can adjust our timing so that we make sure we go 12 minutes is our goal. And then we will switch over and do the crisping lid. Okay, so the countdown just went to 6 minutes, but it took about 7 minutes for the countdown to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and decrease my time here. So I'm gonna decrease it down. It was at 6, now it's at 4. We're gonna just do that. And in case the pin pops in the back, which it very well might pop up, we might have to let that go back down before we can open it up and switch lids, but we'll just see how it goes. Okay. All right, so it took 7 minutes to start the steaming countdown. We did 4.5 minutes of steam because, you know, I decreased it in the middle of a minute. So anyway, no big deal. 30 seconds isn't gonna matter. The pin popped up just a little bit and then it went back down. So we can open up the lid now. Go ahead and turn the Ninja Foodi off. We're gonna open up the lid. Do that away from you. It is gonna be steamy. And now I'm simply going to close the crisping lid. And we'll turn the Ninja Foodi back on. No need to dump the water or anything. We wanna keep that liquid hot, hopefully, and steaming. Go to air crisp. The temperature I did was 375, so that's what I'm gonna do here. The time that I set was 55 minutes, but I didn't end up going that long, and the breast was just a tad bit overcooked. So I'm gonna go for 45 minutes, but I'm gonna check it at 30 minutes. But for the next 30 minutes, I'm not gonna open the lid at all. Okay, there we go. So in 30 minutes, we'll check on it, get a temperature, see how it's progressing, and then make some decisions about whether we need to continue to air crisp at the same temperature. Do we need to decrease the temperature? And we'll go through all that when we check on the chicken in just a little bit. All right, so it's been 30 minutes. Let's give it a peek and see what's going on. It's looking good. Now I do see an area right here that looks a little bit darker, but I'm not too worried about that. All right, let's take a temperature to see where we are. I don't think we're done by any stretch of the imagination, but we are at about 136. So based on what I'm seeing here, we're at 136. If I kept going at the same 375, I think we would end up sort of getting too dark on the top. So I am going to take the temp down now to 350. Take our time back down to 15. All right, there we go. So let's give it another 10 minutes or so and I'll check it again and hopefully we'll start climbing up towards that 165 that we need to reach. Now keep in mind that once chicken starts to get to that 130, 140 mark, it goes fast to 165. So at this point, I would recommend checking the temperature like every 5 minutes, no more than 10 minutes. I made that mistake on the previous chicken that I did, and just in like a split second, it seemed, it went from like 150 all the way up to 180. So definitely keep an eye on the temperature at this point. You want to cook it to an internal temperature of about 160, 165, because remember, we're gonna let it rest, so it's gonna go up in temperature some. So if you're comfortable bringing it out at around 155, 160, go ahead and do that, or just leave it till it gets to 165 and pull it out. Okay, so let's take a quick temp here. We are getting up to about 145. Yep, we're getting close. I think 10 minutes will be good to go. I was looking in the bottom to see If the water was boil, or not water, but you know, the liquid that I put in, the chicken stock, and then of course the juices from the chicken itself, if it was boiling underneath, and it definitely is. And that is how it was with the steam crisp function on the newer model of the Ninja Foodi. So it's really interesting. It seems to be doing about the same job. The only difference that I'm seeing is more browning on the chicken. Like I didn't have to adjust the temperature on the other one. I also noticed on the other one that has the steam crisp function, steam was coming out pretty much the entire time that it was cooking. And that's what led me to believe that maybe the bottom element stayed engaged and heating up from the bottom. So we're heating from the bottom and the top. And that's possible. I just don't know because it's not written down anywhere, I don't think. And I haven't had it long enough to really delve into that. But so far, so good. This is looking really great. So I'm excited. All right, let's do a quick temp here. Okay, we're at 1:51. I think 5 more minutes and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna let this finish out the time. And then also, you know, another option is if you wanted to leave it in here until it reaches the 165, you can absolutely do that. So just let the 5 minutes go. And if it's still not quite up there, just close the lid, leave it off, let the residual heat finish cooking it and bringing it up to that temperature. Then bring it out and let it rest for a few minutes. All right, let's go ahead and open up this lid and see if we are at a good temp yet. 165 in that area. I'm gonna go ahead and check over here too. Getting a little bit lower of a reading over there. Let me see what the breast meat is at. And the breast meat's still at 160. So I am gonna add another 5 to 10 minutes to this. So let's go ahead and go back on air crisp. We want our temp to stay at 350. And our time, I'll take that down to 10 minutes and I'll check it in 5. Remember, it's very important that when you're cooking anything that you cook to temperature, not to time. So just because a recipe might say cook for 45 minutes, your individual meal might take 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. So you just want to keep an eye on things and make sure that they're cooked perfectly for you. All right. We should be good to go now. So let's go ahead and go in there. And I am reading at about, oh, some of them are getting up to 173. I hope I didn't go too far. 165, we're good to go. All right, let me go ahead and pull it out. It looks gorgeous. I mean, it looks beautiful. Turn this off. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, very important, let it sit at least for 10 minutes so that it redistributes the juices and you don't lose all of them when you cut into it. So I'm just gonna let it sit here and then I will give it a taste. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this a little bit here. So just me. The skin is nice and crunchy. Now, I'm not gonna carve this whole chicken. What I wanna do is just sort of take a slice off right here. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. All right, this looks amazing. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, let me go ahead and cut into this. Now, one thing I'm gonna say right off the bat is that I do think that the skin was a little crispier with the steam and crisp function on the newer Ninja Foodi. But I will tell you, this is the best chicken I've ever done in a Ninja Foodi so far, except for the steam crisp. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the skin is definitely not as crisp. But the chicken is actually better. Now, I'm not saying that's because this one did a better job than the steam crisp function did. That's not what I'm saying at all. I overcooked the one that was done in the steam crisp a little bit. This one I didn't, so that's probably the difference. It's unbelievably good. Perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, really perfect. So, if you don't have the newest model, you don't have the steam crisp function, give this a try. Use the dual features of steaming and air crisping to achieve the results that you want. Because this, hands down, is the best chicken that I've ever made in a Ninja Foodi in 3 years, and I've been trying so many different ways. And this is definitely the winner. As always, make it your way, make it delicious, and keep it real.